In today's Warzone video, I'm going to give you guys the top meta AR loadouts you guys need to be using. These loadouts are incredible, and it's going to allow you to dominate every single match of Warzone. If you guys want to enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. All right, so the first one we're talking about here today is going to be the Modern Warfare M41. People have been really liking this thing here ever since the Season 4 update, and so let's give you guys a really good build for it because it's incredibly competitive right now within the current meta. So first thing in here is going to be the muzzle. We're going to go for the mono suppressor, sound suppression, of course, damage range. In the barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go through on the stock M16 Grenadier barrel. This is definitely the best barrel in here. People can definitely run the Corvus Custom Marksman, which does work out pretty nicely as well, but the M16 Grenadier is going to be my go-to barrel on this gun. In the underbarrel section, we're going to go for the Commando foregrip here, recoil stabilization, of course, aiming stability. It's just a tried and true foregrip. We don't really need to go with much else. Anything else is going to be a little bit more counterproductive in terms of your mobility sake, and not necessarily, you know, for making this gun a little bit better. Magazine we're going to do is we're going to go for the 60-round mag. I'm a 60-round mag kind of guy, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go for that beautiful 60-round magazine. I think this is a little bit better than having the 50 just because, I mean, the M4's fire rate is pretty decently high. So we're going to go for the 60. That's going to allow us to have a tad bit more ammunition in the magazine for hardly any bit more of a downside. Now, at this point, we can go for a few different options here, but we're going to go for this one, a laser. What we're going to do is we're going to throw on the tac laser here for ADS speed, aiming stability, and aim walking steadiness. The M41 has a little bit of a tendency to kind of bounce around a little bit, so I much prefer to use this as more of a medium-ish range AR, not as much a long range, and I do believe this works great for being aggressive here, playing on Fortune's Keep, Caldera, Rebirth Island, doesn't matter what it is. You guys can run this on pretty much any map, and it's going to work out very, very nicely. So this is my go-to build here for the M4 right now. This thing is incredible. Definitely give this a shot. Next up, of course, I got to give you guys a build here for the NZ41. This is probably the most meta AR out there right now, and even though they did kind of nerf this ever so slightly, it's still incredibly good and like meta, so you guys should be using this. It doesn't matter if it got slightly nerfed. The nerfs in this game really don't do all that much unless they literally run the weapon into the ground, in which case they have definitely not done with the NZ41. So let's get into this muzzle category. We're gonna go for the MX silencer here. This is definitely the best thing to run on this thing. It just makes sense to run the MX over something like, you know, the recoil booster or the Mercury. Just run the MX on this thing. Barrel section, what we're going to do is going to go for the Orb Weaver 360mm BC barrel. This is the best barrel out here by far. It makes the most amount of sense to actually run this thing. So I'd highly recommend you guys run the Orb Weaver 360 exclusively. Now in the underbarrel section, we're going to go for the M13 41 hand stop. This is definitely going to help out that vertical and horizontal recoil control. Definitely need that a little bit with this thing as they try to nerf your recoil control ability with that Orb Weaver barrel. But I mean, that's really about it. So this will totally counteract that. Magazine, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the 6.5 Sakura 50-round mag. This is what we've been running here for a while now, and for good reason, just because it's the best magazine out there, and it makes this thing the most effective it can possibly be here in Warzone. Ammunition, what we're going to do is we're going to go for lengthens that increase overall in bullet velocity, which is definitely a huge plus as an AR. In the rear grip section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the hatch grip here. This is going to help out with that vertical, horizontal recoil, and of course, flinch resistance at no cons, which is incredible. So definitely run hatched on this. It's a very, very solid attachment. Optic, what I'm going to do is for my preference right now, as I've been straying away from using the G16 and going straight for the SVT scope, I've been really liking having a little bit more pinpoint accuracy with that 3x magnification. And sometimes it does allow me to zoom in when I really need it, but it's not as, you know, frequent. I just personally really like the 3x on this, and it works out very nice. Stock we're going to do is we're going to go for the Orb Weaver E-Pack. Recoil control, recoil recovery, accuracy, and of course flinch resistance. Definitely the way to go on this thing. And then down in the perk section, we're going to go for brace for the initial firing recoil. Pretty much this is going to make this thing an absolute laser beam, so definitely should be running this. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for, of course, fully loaded for that maximum starting ammo capacity. This is my full builds here for this gun. Definitely try this thing out. Still incredibly meta, still real good. I don't know why people be trying to say it's like real nerf or something like that, because it's definitely not. I dominate with it. All right, next up we're going to do is we're going to give you guys a build here for the M13. The M13 has been creeping up in the meta here. Speaking over like the NZ41, this thing has like almost a better bullet velocity than that. It's got a few different like sort of indicators that actually show that this gun is technically speaking better than the NZ41. So if you're not using the M13, you should definitely be using this thing. It's like really meta right now. So let's give you guys a build for it. Muzzle category, we're going to go for the mono suppressor here. Sound suppression, damage range. We run this on all of our Modern Warfare weapons. Barrel section, we're going to go for the Tempest Marksman barrel, damage range, bullet velocity, and of course that beautiful recoil control. This works out very nicely on this gun, and I do not really recommend to run this any other way. Underbarrel, we're going to go for the Commando foregrip here, recoil stabilization, aiming stability. People try to run the Merc foregrip on it, but I don't particularly see as much of a benefit to that, or even something like the Ranger foregrip. I pretty much just stick exclusively with the Commando, and it's worked out beautifully for me. Magazine, we're going to go for the 60-round mag, because I'm a 60-round mag kind of guy, you know what I'm saying? And this thing has an incredibly high fire rate, so having 6 rounds in that magazine is going to be hugely beneficial. And then down in the optic, what we're gonna do is we have a couple different options in here. So Corp Combat Hollow, which is what I've gotten some gameplay with and I actually showcased here on my channel recently. I believe it works out very, very nicely. Or you can run something like the VLK 3x optic, as the recoil is pretty manageable. You can definitely use this at more of a medium to longer-ish range, though that's not really my preference. My preference is to go to Corp Combat Hollow, or to go something down here like the PBX Hollow 7 side, which is the same thing as the Corp Combat, but just looks a little bit different, a little bit cooler. So this is my full build here on this thing. Definitely try this thing out. Super meta right now and very, very good. Next up, we're going to talk about the STG44. Even though this thing did technically receive a couple nerfs here just because it was like undoubtedly the king of Warzone, it's still really good here nowadays in this meta. So let's give you guys a build for it. So first thing, muzzle, MX silencer here like always. This is pretty much what we do for all of our Vanguard ARs. Barrel section, we're going to go for the VDD 760mm 05B barrel. This is definitely the best barrel out there, and I do not recommend for you guys to run anything else on this gun. It's just definitely the best thing to run. On a barrel section, we're going to go for the M13 form hand stop, which is actually at the top there. Vertical and horizontal recoil control, definitely going to help stabilize this weapon out. I'd for sure recommend for you guys to go with this. Magazine, what we're going to do is we're going to go for that beautiful 7.62 Gorenko 50 round magazine. We've been running this for a while now. I haven't ran this before. It was like patched into being like really good, but I was still running it beforehand. I'm running it now. Like, it's incredible. Definitely the best choice out there. Ammunition, we're going to go for the lengthen to increase that bullet velocity. And then in the rear grip section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for that hatch grip here. Vertical and horizontal recoil control, and of course flinch resistance. They've had a thing where they try to nerf some of the Vanguards like recoil control ability on these weapons, or at least on the ARs. So having hatch grip in here, that's going to help out with that without giving us any cons, is pretty clutch. And then in the optic section, what we're going to do is we're going to once again go for that SVT scope. I've been really digging this here recently, and because I've been also playing a lot more Fortune's Keep as opposed to like Rebirth Island or Caldera. So the SVT scope has been working out very nicely whenever I play any of those maps. And then in stock, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the weighted stock here at the very bottom. Accuracy, flinch resistance, recoil control, aiming stability. This can help make this thing much more of a laser beam, even though it technically got a little bit of a nerf, at least in the recoil department. And then in the perk 1, what we're going to do is we're going to go for Nerves of Steel, accuracy and recoil while injured, which pretty much means like whenever you're taking any damage, you're still going to be perfectly centered, and it's definitely come in clutch a couple times. Or you can run something like Focus, which is going to help out with your overall flinch resistance. Either or of these, you really can't go too wrong. And then in perk 2, of course, fully loaded, maximum starting ammo capacity, which is definitely really solid. So this is my full build here for this thing. Definitely really good, even after a couple nerfs. Still a solid AR. Next up, let's give you guys a build here for the Kilo 141. People have been really liking this a lot more recently, along, you know, of course, the M13, the M4A1. People have been liking this quite a bit. So let's give you guys a build for this. First thing, mono suppressor, sound suppression, and of course, damage range. Barrel, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the 19.8 Prowler barrel damage range, bullet velocity, and of course recoil control. I definitely suggest to choose this over the SOCOM. The SOCOM does everything the Prowler barrel does, but the Prowler barrel is going to do it better. So always go for the Prowler barrel whenever you're making a Kilo build here in Warzone. In the outer barrel section, commando foregrip here like always, recoil stabilization, aiming stability, ain't got to change this around. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know what I'm saying? So the commando's the way to go. Magazine, we're going to go for that 60-round magazine. I'm not going to say the third time, but you guys know the drill. So we're going to go for that 60-round mag. And then, of course, the 100-round drum mag is not something you ever want to touch. This is just abysmal. Like, it's just not a very good attachment. So stick to the 60. And if you really want to get crazy with it, go for the 50 if you want to tab it, more mobility. Something like that could maybe work out in your favor a bit more on like Rebirth Island if you're trying to like really run this as more of a medium close range AR. But 60, I mean, even then, it's still going to work out just fine. Then, much like we have the other guns, for our optic section, we have a couple of different options in here. I personally really like running this as a medium range AR on like Rebirth Island or Fortune's Keep. Corp Combat Hollow works out beautifully on this, especially if you got like the blue dot or some. I personally don't, but it still works out very nicely. But you could also go for the VLK 3x optic, or at the very bottom here, close to the very bottom, the PBX Hollow 7 sight. For this build in particular, I'm probably just going to go for the Corp Combat Hollow at the very top here, as I prefer to run this as more of a medium range AR and not too much as long range, where some of those Vanguard guns that have less recoil than this visually will be a little bit easier to use. So this is going to be my build here for it. Really like the Kilo, and it's definitely worthy of being classified in the meta. And for our last gun here today, we're going to be giving you guys a build here for the Cooper Carbine. This thing has definitely got buffed into the meta, as I thought it was a pea shooter beforehand, but it's a lot better nowadays. So let's give you guys a good build for it. First thing, muzzle, MX silencer. I'm not going to explain this one too much for you guys. Barrel section, we're going to go for the 22 Cooper Custom. Highly accurate control of recoil, fire rate, reduced scope, sway, and gun bob, and of course that beautiful damage range, which is all really good things when you're trying to make this a true AR, not necessarily like an SMG build. On a barrel, of course, M19 for enhanced that vertical and horizontal. Ain't gotta explain this one too much. You guys know the drill, what it does. Magazine, we're gonna go for that beautiful 9mm 60. This is what we run no matter if it's an AR or if it's an SMG. We always run the 9mm 60. This is kind of like one of those things, these Vanguard guns, it almost seems like you lower the caliber of, you know, the bullet and it makes the gun better somehow, some way. It seems to be more of a reoccurring theme where you throw on something that gives the increased fire rate at a slight cost for damage, and it ends up coming out on top. So we run this. Now, the ammunition side of things, you have a couple of different options in here. You can go for lengthened, or I've also ran compressed rounds for that increased fire rate. I don't know what it is. I mean, I personally feel like lengthened makes me a little bit more effective just because the compressed rounds will make this thing bounce around just a little bit too much for my preference. But if you guys really want to try it out, it's definitely a good option. But for me personally, lengthened is the way to go. Now, in the rig grip section here, we're going to go for, where is it at? We're going to go for the hatch grip here. I literally could not find it. I was like, where is it going to be? But the hatch grip here, vertical and horizontal, and of course, flinch resistance, and then the optic. This is one of those guns where I don't particularly prefer to run something like a really high magnification, so I'll go for like a G16 2.5. This will be more of like a rebirth violent thing, but if you actually have on the lengthened rounds instead of compressed, so if I was running compressed, I'd probably run the G16 because I'm not going to hit a lot of shots like super far away. But if I'm running like the lengthened rounds, you can still definitely go for that SVT scope, and that's going to be a really good option. So lengthened more or less with the SVT, and then probably like with the compressed rounds, the G16 2.5 is it's gonna be a little more harder to control at longer distances. Now, the stock we're gonna do is we're gonna go for that Cooper 45W. Of course, recoil control when mounted, crouched, and prone, and then accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Definitely a real good stock. And then in perk 1, we're gonna go for tight grip here. I was looking around there. I'm kind of messing up on this last build here, but tight grip here as our perk 1, and then in perk 2, like always, fully loaded. So this has been my full build here. This has been my video. If you guys enjoyed today's vid, give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on. I'll see you guys all later. Just our notable cap. Don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.